The battle for peace is not external, it is spiritual. You may believe the chaos in your life comes from people, those who gossip, insult, manipulate, or belittle you. But the true battlefield is not the space around you, it is the space within you. That is where calm is either won or lost. It is not about what they said or what they did. It's about whether you allow it to settle in your spirit. It's not the storm on the outside that sinks the ship, it's the water that gets inside. I see to you what it is. Everything. So the enemy's greatest tactic is not just to create conflict around you, but to stir the waters within you. And if he can get your peace, he has your power. You see, calmness is not something you perform. It is something you carry. It is a spiritual inheritance, a fruit of the presence of God. The world may define calmness as self-controlled, discipline, or emotional maturity. And yes, those are noble qualities. But I tell you this, there is a deeper calm, a holy calm, a calm that is not taught, but caught. It is the calm that rests upon a soul that has been with God. It does not come from willpower. It comes from surrender. When your spirit is surrendered, yielded, and quiet before the Lord, you are no longer pulled by the tug-of-war of people's opinions or behaviors. Your calm becomes rooted in something eternal. This is why the fight is spiritual. The people who try to upset you are not the real enemy. Scripture tells us, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, and spiritual wickedness in high places. The one who tries to provoke you is often unaware that they're being used as a vessel, sometimes knowingly, often unknowingly. But behind their words, behind their tone, behind their actions, there is a spirit of division that thrives on your reaction. The moment you react in the flesh, you've stepped down into the same arena. But when you stay calm, truly calm, you are not just being patient. You are being powerful. You are walking in dominion. Calmness confuses the enemy. When you stay still in the storm, when you respond with grace to mockery, when you smile in the face of criticism, when you refuse to return insult for insult, something in the spirit realm begins to shift. It's not about appearing composed for the sake of others. It's about being so anchored in the love and presence of God that nothing on the outside can dictate your posture on the inside. It's about knowing who you are. When you know who you are in God, you don't need to prove it to anybody else. You don't need to fight for recognition. You don't need to defend yourself against slander. You don't need to be understood by everyone. Your validation no longer comes from man, it comes from heaven. The reason some people can so easily upset you is because you have not yet secured your peace. You have not yet decided that your calm is sacred. But once you do, once you see your peace as a treasure to be guarded and not surrendered in every moment of irritation, you begin to operate from a different realm. Your silence becomes louder than their noise. Your stillness becomes a rebuke without a word. Your calm becomes a spiritual statement. I will not be moved. It is easy to be calm when everything is peaceful, but divine calm is proven in the fire. It is revealed when the accusations are false, when the disrespect is public, when the misunderstanding is intentional, and you still choose not to retaliate. You lift your eyes not in pride but in surrender. You walk away not in defeat but in victory. This is the posture of one who knows the battle is not external. The true warfare is the enemy's attempt to drag you out of the spirit and into the flesh, to steal your peace and with it your clarity, your anointing, your voice. So you must guard your peace like a gatekeeper. Every word spoken to provoke you is a test. Every insult is an invitation to come down from your position. But don't step down. Stay seated, in peace, in power, in purpose. Because your calm is not just for your sake. It's a message, it's a witness. It's a demonstration that the Spirit of God lives in you. And when the world sees that kind of calm, the kind that cannot be shaken by people, they'll know that what you carry is not natural, it's divine. Offense is the enemy's tool. It's subtle, it's seductive, and it's destructive. People don't actually upset you. The truth is, your reaction to them is what gives them power. They don't climb inside your heart and push buttons. They just press on the wounds that are already there. What offends you reveals you. It reveals where you're still bleeding, where you're still insecure, where you're still looking for validation from people instead of resting in your identity in God. The offense itself is not the problem. It's the open door it creates in your spirit that allows bitterness, anger, resentment, and retaliation to walk right in. That's why the enemy uses offense so often. It's efficient. He doesn't need to destroy your life. He just needs you to take offense, and you'll start to destroy yourself. Offense clouds your discernment. It isolates you. It convinces you that you must protect yourself, defend yourself, and be right at all costs. But what you don't see in that moment is that while you're busy reacting to what someone said, or how someone ignored you, or how they overlooked you or disrespected you, your spirit is being robbed of peace. Your heart is being distracted from the voice of God. The enemy doesn't care about the argument. He cares about the aftermath. He wants the residue of offense to linger in your soul long after the moment has passed. Because when you carry offense, you carry heaviness. The word says, it is to one's glory to overlook an offense, not to excuse it, not to pretend it didn't happen, but to rise above it. That kind of strength only comes from the Spirit. Your flesh will demand justice. Your ego will demand an apology. But the Spirit of God will whisper, let it go. Because holding on to offense is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. They've already moved on. They've already forgotten the words they said. But you're still carrying it, replaying it, rehearsing your response, tightening your chest every time you remember the conversation. That's not peace. That's not power. That's prison. And God didn't call you to live in emotional prison. When you make peace your priority, you stop handing out keys to your emotions. You stop letting people with no spiritual maturity control your spiritual temperature. You stop being reactive. You start living from a place of response. Measured, wise, rooted. Because your calm is not based on how kind people are to you, but on how connected you are to God. When your eyes are fixed on Him, people lose their power to disturb you. Their words lose their weight. Their opinions lose their grip. You realize, I don't have to take that bait. And make no mistake, offense is bait. It is bait to pull you into the flesh, where you are loud but ineffective, where you are justified but miserable. You can be right and still be out of order. You can win the argument and lose your peace. That's not victory. Real victory is when you choose silence over shouting, grace over gossip, peace over pettiness. That's when you walk in spiritual authority. That's when you start reflecting Christ instead of reacting like the crowd. Jesus was surrounded by people who tried to provoke him, mock him, trap him in his words. And yet, he stayed silent when necessary. He didn't take the bait. He didn't allow the offense to change his posture. That's the kind of spirit you are called to walk in. One that is unmoved by insults and unmoved by applause. Because both are distractions if you let them define you. Your value does not increase when people praise you, and it doesn't decrease when they criticize you. You are who God says you are. That is your anchor. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. Don't respond from your wound. Respond from your spirit. Ask yourself, why did that offend me? Let the Holy Spirit show you the places where you're still healing. Don't bury the offense. Confront it with truth. Speak life over your own heart. Forgive quickly, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Refuse to carry what Jesus already carried to the cross. You're not just letting go of what they did. You're letting go of what it's trying to do in you. If the enemy can't destroy you, he'll distract you. An offense is one of his most effective distractions. But today, you can choose a higher road. You can decide that no one's behavior is worth your peace, that your time is too valuable to spend explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, that your energy is too sacred to waste on emotional ping-pong with people who have no eternal perspective. You were made for more than offense. You were made for peace. You said, when you respond with peace, you preach without words. Your reaction in moments of pressure, conflict, or provocation speaks louder than any sermon you could ever give. People are watching, not just listening to what you say, but observing how you behave when things don't go your way. Your peace becomes your message. It tells the world who you belong to, what kingdom you represent, and where your strength truly comes from. You don't need a pulpit to minister. You just need peace. And when the storms come, when the voices rise, when others expect you to break down or lash out, and you stay calm instead. Oh, that's the gospel in motion. That's what gets people's attention. That's what makes them curious about the source of your serenity. Peace is not passive. It is one of the most aggressive forms of spiritual warfare. It disarms the enemy without a single shout. When someone insults you and you bless them, when they attack and you don't return fire, when they expect retaliation but receive kindness, that's not weakness. That's power. That's the evidence of a life surrendered to something greater than pride. In a world where everyone is quick to clap back, defend their reputation, and get the last word, your silence and stillness say something different. They say, I trust God more than I trust myself. They say, I know who fights for me. They say, I don't need to be right. I just need to be righteous. This doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It doesn't mean you become a doormat or stay silent in the face of abuse. No, peace is not about denying what happened. It's about deciding that what happened will not define your behavior. It's about rising above the moment, not shrinking beneath it. Because when you live from a place of peace, you don't react, you respond. You don't mirror the dysfunction in others, you reflect the spirit within you. The world is full of mirrors, it needs more windows. People need to see through you into something deeper, something eternal, and that something is peace. Your calmness becomes a sermon. It ministers to the angry, it confuses the bitter, it convicts the prideful. Because deep down, every soul longs for peace. They may not understand it, they may not know how to ask for it, but when they see it in you, they know it's real. They know it didn't come from this world. And that's when the questions begin. How did you stay so calm when she embarrassed you? How were you so composed after what he said? How do you stay so quiet when people lie about you? And that's your moment. Not to boast, not to gloat, but to point them to the one who anchors your soul. Sometimes the most powerful testimony is not how loud you can pray or how eloquently you speak. It's how well you hold your peace when everything in you wants to scream. When everything in you wants to defend, to fight, to prove, but you don't. Because you've learned that peace is protection. It guards your heart. It preserves your witness. And it keeps you aligned with heaven. There are times when God will tell you to be silent, not because you're weak, but because he wants to speak through your stillness. He wants to show them, not just tell them, what maturity looks like, what spiritual strength looks like, what grace looks like in real time, and you become a living epistle read by all men. They may never open a Bible, but they will remember how you didn't flinch, didn't curse, didn't explode. They'll remember your composure, and that will linger far longer than any argument ever could. Responding with peace is not just for others, it's for you. It keeps your soul clean, it keeps your spirit clear. It protects your joy, your clarity, your purpose. The enemy knows that if he can keep you agitated, he can keep you distracted. But when you choose peace, you're saying, I'm not here to fight flesh and blood. I'm here to represent the Prince of Peace. And that representation is not always loud. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet walk away from chaos. Sometimes it's a soft answer that turns away wrath. Sometimes it's a smile in the face of sarcasm. And in those moments, your peace becomes louder than their provocation. So the next time you feel the urge to react, pause, breathe, remember who you are and who you carry, and let your response be a reflection of heaven, not a reaction to earth. Because your peace has power, your peace has purpose, and your peace might just be the only message someone will ever hear. Let it preach. You said, you can't control people, but you can control the atmosphere within you. That simple truth, if truly grasped, can set you free from so much unnecessary stress, anxiety, and inner chaos. People will always have opinions. They will misunderstand you, judge you, criticize you, provoke you, and even betray you. That's the reality of living in a world full of imperfect humans, each carrying their own pain, their own wounds, and their own unresolved issues. You cannot stop them from acting out, from speaking out, or from reacting out of their brokenness. But what you can do, what you must do, is take responsibility for the climate inside your own soul. You are not at the mercy of other people's emotions. You are not a puppet tied to someone else's strings. If someone else's mood dictates yours, if someone's comment can ruin your entire day, if their negativity becomes your narrative, then you have unknowingly handed them authority they were never meant to have. And the longer you live like that, the more you will find yourself tossed around emotionally, reacting to every slight, every insult, every cold look, every careless word. That's not how you were designed to live. You were not made to be reactive. You were made to be rooted, grounded, anchored in something deeper than the mood of the room or the temperature of other people's emotions. The Holy Spirit is not merely a visitor. He's a resident in your life. And when he lives inside of you, he doesn't just give you peace, he becomes your peace. So while the atmosphere outside may be chaotic, you carry a calm inside that cannot be touched unless you allow it. You can walk into a room full of tension and bring stillness. You can sit in a conversation filled with sarcasm and refuse to engage in the same spirit. You can be surrounded by noise and maintain your inner quiet. That is the power of someone who has decided to control their atmosphere, not the room around them, but the room within them. And understand this: your internal atmosphere is sacred. It is the garden where your thoughts grow, where your faith breathes, where your discernment sharpens. If you don't protect it, if you allow every angry person, every critical voice, every toxic energy to invade that space, you will find yourself emotionally exhausted and spiritually dull. That is why you must be deliberate about what you allow to stir you. Not everything deserves a response. Not every comment requires a comeback. Not every disrespect warrants your energy. Some things are better left unanswered, not because you're afraid, but because you're focused. Maturity looks like walking away, not in weakness, but in wisdom. It's choosing to guard your atmosphere because you understand that peace is the foundation for hearing God clearly. When you are stirred up, you can't think clearly, you can't pray effectively, and you can't love freely. Everything becomes filtered through offense and frustration. But when you take ownership of your peace, when you stop blaming people for how you feel and start taking back responsibility for your reactions, everything changes. You stop trying to fix everyone else and you let God work on you. Some people pride themselves on being real, but sometimes what they call real is just uncontrolled emotion. There's nothing strong about saying everything you feel. True strength is having the power to stay composed when others aren't. True strength is staying soft in spirit when others are hard in heart. True strength is creating a calm within you that overflows and begins to influence everything around you. That's what it means to walk in the Spirit. Not just on Sundays, not just when people are watching, but when you're alone, when you're offended, when you're triggered, and you still choose to breathe, to pause, to pray, and to protect your peace. You were never meant to live under the weight of everyone else's expectations or projections. Their behavior is not your responsibility. Your response is. That's the only thing you truly have control over. And the beautiful part is, when you master your atmosphere, you start changing theirs. People will notice the difference. They'll sense that they can't get a reaction from you like they used to. They'll realize you no longer participate in drama or dwell in offense. And eventually your peace becomes a mirror. It shows them what they could have if they let go of the chaos they've grown used to. So no, you cannot control people. You can't make them kinder, gentler, wiser, or more spiritually mature. But you can decide that their actions will not determine your spirit. You can live in such a way that your peace is untouchable. And that kind of life, that kind of self-governed, spirit-filled, anchored life, that's not only rare, it's powerful, it's magnetic, it's transformative, and it starts with a simple decision. I will not let what's around me decide what happens within me. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Just because someone throws a dart your way doesn't mean you need to catch it. In fact, wisdom often looks like walking away, not to escape conflict, but to preserve your calling. There's a difference between fighting for what's right and being baited into a battle that's beneath you. So many of us waste time, energy, and spiritual clarity getting pulled into every disagreement, every misunderstanding, every passive-aggressive remark, trying to defend ourselves or prove a point. But peace is not found in the proving. It's found in the knowing. Knowing who you are, knowing who God is, and knowing which battles are truly worth your breath. There is a kind of strength in silence that cannot be measured by volume. It is not weakness to withhold your words. It's not cowardice to walk away. Sometimes it takes far more strength to stay calm than it does to explode. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can match energy with energy, insult with insult, attitude with attitude. But it takes a person of deep conviction, of true spiritual depth, to stand firm in composure when everything around you is demanding a reaction. The flesh wants to be heard, to be justified, to be vindicated, but the spirit often says, hold your peace. This is not your battle. There are arguments that are designed not to solve anything, but to drain everything. They are traps set by the enemy to wear you out emotionally, to pull you off your assignment, to get you so wrapped up in offense that you forget your purpose. Every time you choose to argue when God told you to stay quiet, you're stepping out of alignment. You're handing over your authority, and the enemy knows that if he can get you to engage in every little conflict, he can keep you distracted from the big calling. Your energy is not infinite. Your emotions are not limitless. You have to learn how to steward them wisely. Don't spend them on people who aren't even listening, who just want to argue, not to understand, but to provoke. When Jesus was accused, falsely judged, mocked, and interrogated, he didn't always answer. He didn't defend himself at every turn. There were moments when he stood silent, not because he had nothing to say, but because he was submitted to something higher. His silence was not a void, it was a statement. It said, I know who I am. I know why I'm here. And I will not let you pull me into a lesser place. You see, when you know your assignment, you don't chase every accusation, you don't react to every voice, you stay rooted, you stay focused. You stay on mission. There is a discipline in choosing your peace over your pride. There is a power in choosing stillness over strife. That doesn't mean you never confront, never clarify, never engage. But it means you do so from a place of purpose, not provocation. You don't let your emotions lead the conversation, you let the Spirit lead. And sometimes the Spirit will say nothing. Let me fight for you. Let me speak on your behalf. Let me handle what you cannot. That's hard. It's hard to be misunderstood and not rush to explain. It's hard to be lied about and not lash out. But that's where the real growth happens. That's where God builds something unshakable in you. If peace is your priority, then every situation becomes a test, not of your strength to argue, but of your strength to remain unmoved. When people try to pull you into their drama, when they try to bait you into bitterness, when they try to stir up old wounds, you can pause and remember. Not every invitation deserves a response. Some doors are better left unopened. Some texts are better left unanswered. Some debates are better left untouched. You don't have to lose your dignity trying to win an argument. You don't have to lose your character trying to prove your point. Your silence can be louder than any comeback. Your calmness can disarm more than any clever retort. And your refusal to engage in strife can be the very thing that brings conviction to the hearts of those watching. Because at the end of the day, people aren't just listening to your words, they are watching your choices, your restraint, your peace, your wisdom. And when they see that you don't entertain every argument, that you don't attend every emotional invitation, that you know how to walk away with grace and without bitterness, they'll begin to wonder what's different about you, and that's your moment. Not to point to yourself, but to point to God. Because only He can give that kind of peace. Only He can cultivate that kind of strength. And only He can turn your silence into a testimony.